the now, bitch.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the 19th episode of the On Blast Show. Got myself, DarKNaTaS, here today, as usual. Got my power back, so back in action from my, as Rush Limbaugh likes to say, my EIB studio. I have, obviously, a special guest today. Also, want to give some shout-outs to the OBS guys, and I'm going to run down a list. You got the Terry brothers, you got Madsen, you got Jer, you got B-Wiz, MyGod, Zaf, Beef Supreme, Lucy Lou, DJ El Toro, Gross, and Big D. Wow, I mean, the list goes on. Guys that showed up to Dallas. And, you know, whether you took first place like our OBS Rio, or if you just came down there and gave it your all, man, I give shout-outs to all of you for supporting the scene. Also, we're going to have Mr. Rio on a little bit later, as well as the Terry brothers. Possibly Big D and Trepound is out there to call some people out. It definitely looks to be a good show today. Mr. Natus, do you have anything to add?
No, just regular shouts out like usual. Everybody who supports us, you know, Testing My, Mortal Kombat United, Shoryuken, also Smash, MK Bible, Gamers Edge, DB Mugen, MK Server, Video Games, the Video X Games, the Video Method Gaming, Mortal Kombat Online, TRMK, Ultra Spec Cables, Combat Network, MKMP Forms, MK Universe, Empire Arcadia, Total Mortal Kombat, and Pro PC Gaming. All those people, you know, support us everything. Don't forget our sponsor Trip Sessions. Also, guys, if you have any questions for Mr. Tobias, please send them over Twitter or via Facebook on our pages. Send them. I already got a lot of questions via Test Your Might, and a few questions already through Twitter and Facebook. So, guys, if you have any more questions, send them. This is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime chance to actually get your questions out there. We are limited on time, so I'm going to try to get as many questions as I can out there.
Okay. On a side note, I see Mr. Lucy Lou in the chat. Mr. Lucy Lou, I need you to PM me your email address, and obviously, I also need you to give me all your info for the On Blast Show website. I will be PayPaling you $50 for getting the Toasty Boost. The first Toasty Boost at a major that actually was utilized and abused, which was a beautiful thing. I got people sending me text messages to rub it in my face. I guess Obama's winning the election. But to be honest, I don't care who wins it. So, with that said, Lucy, get me that info, and I will PayPal you some dinero. Other people, you should thank Claude Von Stroke for that as well, because I believe that's who you did it to. The other rumor going around was that I had bounties out on 16-bit PL. Unfortunately, because Hurricane Sandy took away my power, I was unable to comprise my usual cantaloupe video. And because of that, I didn't put the bounties out this time around. But with NEC coming around the corner, and I believe this turned out hopefully better than Dallas was, there will be some bounties out there. So there will be some money out there to be made on people. I'm not going to disclose who yet, but there's a couple of pain in my asses that I definitely want to put some bounties out on. Logic, election over at 7:20, but who won? Is it Obama?
I have no idea.
I don't know either. At the end of the day, I don't care. As long as they just leave me alone. And with that said, guys, pretty much like I said, NEC's coming up in less than a month now. So everybody get out to Philly. This is going to be the end of the year for MK9, which, has done absolutely phenomenal all year around as far as support from the players. Even if it's a 30-man tournament, I've seen 30, I've seen a couple of hundred. Everybody gets out there, they give it their all, they support the scene. Even pain in the asses like Pig the Hut, he's a pain in my ass, but I gotta love his compassion and his will to compete in this game. He's just a little bit of misguided youth, but that's all right. With that said, guys, let me introduce to you. Who do I got? I got Mr. Gross sending me. No, I got to hit that up. Okay, anyway, with that said, guys, I am going to introduce you all to Mr. John Tobias. Whoop. And I got to move you out and move you in on the screen. There we go. Okay. How are you, John?
Hey, I'm good.
The volume okay on that, Natus?
Yeah, volume's good.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to get right into it. You know, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten the question a million times. How did the MK actually get started with you guys?
Yeah, actually, I have been asked that question a million times. You know, it started out when I was working on another project called Total Carnage, which was kind of a sequel to the first game that I worked on called Smash TV. And the graphics in that game were all, you know, tiny little hand-animated sprites. And so I was looking at doing something with larger characters. And we had technology and tools that let us take advantage of digitizing, which was a fairly new technology at the time. And so I wanted to take advantage of it. And the first thing I thought of was how can we get the characters as large on screen as possible? And that would mean that whatever the game was that we did would have to have as few characters as possible on screen as well. So I thought of a fighting game, and Street Fighter 2 actually, when the inception of Mortal Kombat, I don't think Street Fighter 2 was actually even released in the arcades yet, so I know people point to that as being like our initial inspiration, but mine actually was a game called Karate Champ that I played in high school.
I actually got that app on my phone.
Yeah, and it's probably looks really crude, but I love that game, and that was the initial inspiration, and so then I kind of took the basis of that idea, and I asked Dad if he was interested at Boone, and he was, and so we kind of, that's how it started. That's the inception of it, and it actually, from that point until we started working on it, there were a lot of months in between there. So I think after that, Street Fighter was released at some point. Street Fighter 2, actually, the first Street Fighter game was out, but I wasn't real familiar with it. And we went. I don't know how many months it was. You know, several months, I'd say, before we actually started working on Mortal Kombat.
Now, everybody's all, is it true? I mean, everybody has said that Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally supposed to be the main character of the game.
Yeah, no, that is true. We, at the time at Midway, it seemed like you had to have some sort of Hollywood license involved to get a project greenlit, I guess. And so they, not Van Damme, but whoever the production company was behind Universal Soldier, which was a film that was in production at the time, they had approached Midway about doing a licensed tie-in with the movie. And we weren't as interested in the movie as we were just working with some sort of name martial artist. And at the time, outside of the folks from Hong Kong who I had sort of admired, we were looking at who stateside would be viable. And there were only two at the time, and this is, we're talking the early 90s, and that was Van Damme and Steven Seagal. And so I don't know what happened with Steven Seagal, but we managed to approach Van Damme. And there were some talks with his agent, didn't go very far, and ended up not working out. So we moved away from that pretty quickly and moved ahead with what became Mortal Kombat. So it's probably a good thing, because if he was involved, you don't know what sort of restrictions would have been put on us, and the game would have been totally different.
Can't kill Van Damme. That's like when we were doing the Simpson games back in the day. Matt Groening would get like really picky on like, well, no, Bart wouldn't do this because he's Bart Simpson, and they would put a lot of restrictions on that. Sometimes it actually negatively impacted the game in dramatic ways. But meanwhile, we would, for some reason, companies like Marvel would let us make Spider-Man like 4'2" and like 250 pounds. I could never understand that. As far as the characters go, obviously, a lot of people know that, the inspiration to them. I mean, people said Big Trouble Little China for like Raiden. What character is specifically a character that, besides, I guess, Noob Saibot, that you is like your cream of the crop, your favorite character in the game?
Oh, my favorite character in the game. I like all of them. I think, if I look at certain characters, it's more about what they mean to the game. Also, Goro, I think, is one of my favorites visually, just because I was a huge fan of old Ray Harryhausen movies like Jason and the Argonauts and all those things, and that was an inspiration that Goro was an inspiration that I drew from those films and stories, and so he's one of my favorites because of that. I think visually he is as well. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are my favorites. Liu Kang is my favorite. I like them all. Liu Kang, actually, I like Liu Kang because thematically he was sort of the central figure to the story. He was our hero character, and so I like him for those reasons, more so than me.
When speaking of the stories, sometimes the stories have taken, from like MK1 to MK2 and so on, they've taken these very odd twists, where, like, for example, like the Sub-Zero saga where he gets killed and it's his brother. When developing the story, I mean, is it, what is the process that you guys, I mean, is it the story first and then build characters around the story, or do the characters and then build the story around the characters?
I'd like to think that it's story first, but it's a fighting game, and so there are other factors. When we move from MK1, MK2 to MK3, the story doesn't dictate who comes back and who doesn't. What dictates that is sort of what we perceive as the popularity behind the characters. And so I'd have sort of an overall idea on where we were going to take the story. But individual characters we'd have to squeeze them in or push them out depending on other factors. And so sometimes it got messy. Sub-Zero's dead, now he's not, and all that kind of stuff. So you try to finagle it so that it works. And so that's, I think, what the primary factor was behind who came back and who didn't come back, more so than story.
In MK2, Sonya and Kano got chained up. Was that because of memory issues, filming issues, or timing issues? Why didn't they appear in the game? Or was it, like you said, was it a matter of popularity?
It was actually, with those two, it was a matter of popularity, but also we wanted to introduce as many new characters as we could. And so we looked at, who from the old roster, if we were to cut back, who would it be? And it was those two. So we tried to fit them in to the story. We liked them a lot, but we really wanted to introduce as many new guys as possible, and so we had to make space. I mean, the thing about the characters, especially when you look at all the talent swaps and all that kind of stuff, that wasn't by choice. It's like if I had by choice, all of those characters would have been unique and all that. But memory constraints just killed us. It's like there was never enough memory to do anything, and so we relied on the palette swaps to add a little bit of variety. We had to cut characters out in order to introduce new characters, and so there was always a little bit of give and take.
Natish, I don't want to hit questions that other people are going to ask. So I'm sure you got a ton of questions already.
All right. I wasn't really filtering through them yet. Actually, give me 5 more minutes.
Okay. Going on to MK3, I mean, one thing that I've noticed about the game, there's always been dramatic changes in the gameplay as far as functionality. I.e., MK1 was just straight up, punch, special move. MK2 came along. It was the incorporation of the friendships and the babalities. MK3 added the run button. When you're doing that process, was there anything that you guys ever came up with that, like, you were like, hey, you know what, we want to do this, and you start going forward with it, and you're like, you know what, this just ain't going to work? Like any types of features that you guys were looking to incorporate in it?
I can't think of any features off the top of my head that we wanted to incorporate but didn't. I remember on MK1, originally we had, there were 3 punch and 3 kick buttons. They were still arranged the same way. We had the block in the middle. We had a high, a middle punch, and a low punch. And we cut out the middle one because, or actually what would have been the low punch, partly because of memory constraints and partly because it was just kind of redundant. So I remember that. There was one thing, I think it might have been MK2 or MK3. I remember once Ed had a glitch in the game where we would make a character jump, and then if you jumped again, he would jump again and like move up, way high off the top of the screen. So they would kind of float in the air a little bit. And that was actually pretty cool, kind of like a Mario Brothers double jump. And,
that's actually in Marvel now as a regular thing.
Right. So that was, I think that was actually an MK2, and visually it looked pretty cool, but I think it was too troublesome for us to get working properly. I don't recall why ultimately we didn't use it. Ed might remember better on that, but I remember it looked cool. Like it looked like something that was promising, but I think it introduced too many problems.
Friendships, babalities, animalities. I mean, animalities obviously were driven by rumor. What was the message you guys were trying to deliver with the friendships? I mean, like I said, I remember the what's his name up in Connecticut, the senator with the violent game hearings.
Lieberman?
Yeah.
Those guys are a bunch of jokers. Well, the friendships actually, if I remember right, maybe it was Hosung Pak used to do this goofy dance, like between takes, and the guys would tease him about it, because I think maybe he danced like that in the nightclubs or whatever, when they'd go club hopping. And so we caught him on tape a couple of times doing it. I might have digitized him and had him dancing, and it was so funny. That might have been the inception, but I do remember that we were also making a little bit of a statement in that, and just how goofy the whole situation was with the hearings and stuff. And so it was us thumbing our noses a bit in that we gave our players a choice. You don't have to do a fatality; you can do a friendship, and it's just up to the players. Kind of a bit of sarcasm on our part.
What was, I'm going to be like the actor studio now, what was your fondest memories of working on MK?
Well, it wasn't the hours, because we worked crazy hours. It was just insane. But when you're young, and when we started MK1, I don't know, I was 21 maybe. You have a lot of energy and a lot of desire, and you just want shit to be cool, and so you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And so I think just being in that mindset is always a good feeling. And it's especially after the first one came out and it was successful. There was a bit of pressure when we were working on the second one, but I think that we knew we could do it better. Like we knew that there were ways that we could improve it, and so that was a good feeling. And so I think probably that period of time for me as a developer was my fondest memory. Just again because we had a certain level of confidence in our ability to kind of make it better. We knew that we could. So there was a ton of stuff that when I look back on the first game that I would have done differently. Things about the process behind the animation and the process behind as crude as the graphics look today. Back then, there was a lot I thought that we had improved.
Now, on the flip side, what is your worst memories? And obviously, I know the hours have to be one of them.
Right. Yes, I think it's probably the hours. I don't know. My worst memory probably was after I saw the second Mortal Kombat movie. I just thought, shit.
Oh, shit.
It's horrible, and and I saw it coming, just because as the film was in development, I'd flown out to California a few times and I had seen rough cuts, and it just you tried to fix it, but there was just too much broken about it, and it was a frustrating process from beginning to end, totally unnecessary. That it could have been much better than it was, and so that was a horrible feeling.
Roll forward a bit now. The MK collection. I know you're not with NRS, but I heard rumor that they consulted with you to see about making the HD version a reality.
Right. So yeah, actually that's true. But it was kind of after the fact. They had already. The game was pretty much done, actually, and
I'm sure you were happy with it.
Well, by the time I had come on board, we were looking at sort of what we could do to make it better, and they had wisely made the decision, and I had consulted for a little bit on it, and they sort of wisely made the decision to not release it. So it was rough looking.
Now, if you had to choose the digitized of MK1, the 3D models or the 2D touch-ups, what graphically, what is your favorite style for the game to be in?
Well, there's the nostalgia of the old stuff. It's hard to look at, especially today with graphics the way they are. It's hard to look back at that stuff and appreciate it. But when you played games at the time, it was pretty cutting edge, believe it or not. And so there was an excitement, I think at that time. But given the advancements in technology and stuff, I'd have to go with what they're doing. With the last game I thought looked fantastic, and so it's hard to kind of look at that and say, well, I prefer the old stuff. I think that like I say, the old stuff has a nostalgia to it that I like and I appreciate. But the new stuff I think is just looks great. If I were to make Mortal Kombat today, that's what it would look like. Just I think it's great.
All right, I'm gonna hit on the downside here. Special Forces. It wasn't received too well. What happened?
I don't know. I mean, I left, and I actually expected that game was going to get canceled, and I think it should have been. I know that we were struggling with the development of that game, and unfortunately, just what was going on with the development of that game and my ultimate plan of kind of branching off just didn't. The timing was off for both of those things to end happily, and so I know that game, when I was working on it, I knew that it kind of needed an overhaul and looked at sort of what it was going to take to kind of do that, and unfortunately that time frame and the time frame for us kind of leaving at a place where I thought we could do a development deal with someone for one of these new systems that were coming out just didn't coincide. And so yeah, when I walked away again, I thought that it was over, that project was going to be canceled, and I was surprised that it ever came out. So, I've never played it. I don't know what it
Well, it got released. I think it got released the same time as Jackie Chan's Stuntmaster. So
I don't know much about it. I mean, honestly, that project and the Mythologies project, both of those projects were struggles. And the Mythologies project was difficult for us because out of the Chicago studio, at least, that was the first game that we had developed straight for the home. And prior to that, everything we had done was for the arcade, working on our arcade hardware, and working with sort of an arcade mentality. And when we started Mythologies, it was still with an arcade-sized team, which was not big enough. I mean, it was a lot like bringing a knife to a gunfight. We just weren't prepared to, I think, produce the type of product that we needed to. And that project got released and actually sold really well.
Yeah, Mythology. I got to say, I enjoyed Mythology.
there were some good things about it. And there were some bad things about it. I think it needed a little bit more development time. But moving on, I think we thought, okay, well, we're going to do it right this time, and we're going to have a team of the proper size and all this, and it just didn't gel. It didn't happen from the get-go, and that project again was a bit of a struggle. And there was a little bit of a I can't point anything directly, but I had sensed that there was a little bit of not so much animosity, but a little bit of a struggle between us and the folks who were at Midway at the time doing the home stuff. And I felt like there were segments of the company who were trying to keep the arcade alive at the time, and it was sad to see the arcade industry just die as quickly as it did. And so it was a tough time. I will say that the Shaolin Monks game that came out a few years after that, maybe it was longer than that. I think those guys did it right. I mean, they took sort of the concept behind how we were spinning off, and they did it right. I mean, ultimately that was what our intention was.
I actually cracked out Shaolin Monks about a week ago and played it again. I haven't played it in years, but you know what? I do. You're right. I mean, the interaction that you have with the game, which basically giving you that side scroller / you could pick up the character, but you're getting other characters that you use, so it's not like you're locked into one guy. The way they twisted the story, it did come out really good. I will admit that. Out of the 3D versions, what did you think about the 3D versions as far as I guess the technology and the inception of what, as far as what you guys were looking for it to actually be and how the final product came out? Were you satisfied with it? Did you see room for improvement that you said, you know what, it's just not available right now?
During what game?
Just the 3Ds, as the 3Ds, from MK4 up to, I guess, DA, DC, DX, I don't remember which one it ended with. I think Armageddon is the last 3D.
Right. Well, MK4 was, we sort of had to adhere to the hardware, the arcade hardware that we had at the time. And so there were limitations, I think, that were imposed because of that. I'm not real familiar. Actually, when I left, the first other iterations of the 3D games came out after I had left. I'm not real familiar with those. The first the first of those later games that I had played in depth really was the Mortal Kombat versus DC game.
Okay.
That was the first one that I had paid much attention to, and I thought it looked great. That was fun to play, and then obviously MK9 was.
As far as characters go, one of my favorite characters, and I don't know where or what the inspiration was, Rico or Ryko, depending on what you want to call him. What is his deal? I mean, he puts Shao Kahn helmet on. Then he becomes a general, but then people are like, well, maybe he is Shao Kahn reincarnated, a younger version. The story's kind of like floated around. How did he actually come to be?
He was actually, and here I don't know that I've talked about this much, but he was. My idea behind him was that he was Shao Kahn somehow reincarnated as a general, and so I thought that he would eventually re-become Shao Kahn. I don't know what they eventually did with that character. I don't remember much about how we even treated him in MK4, but I know that initially that was the idea behind it.
Interesting.
As far as, is there any characters that, come off on the top of your head that, like, you were like, you know what, this is going to be the best guy, and then he never comes to fruition at all? Or her?
Not really. Because so much, the thing is a best character is, that you can look at a character at different levels. There's like the design, what the guy looks like, how he fits into the theme of the game and the story and stuff, but then ultimately it's about how does that character play. And I think when players pick their favorite, it's not so much about visually what the guy looks like as much as it is about they enjoy playing as that character. And so I don't think there's ever been a guy who I thought was going to be the standout guy, because really you don't know until we can do the artwork for the character, but it's not until Ed has done his job, when he puts the character in the game and has him playing. It's not until that happens that we know really how good of a character he's going to be. So.
And again, on the flip side, was there any character that was just so damn goofy that you were like, you know what, there's no way? I mean, I look, and I'm gonna piss a lot of Mortal Kombat players off right now. I look at Cabal and say that's just a goofy ass character, but he's actually become the best in the game.
Right? Yeah, it's fun to play.
No, right now in MK9, he is the best character in the game.
Because he's fun to play?
No, because nobody can do nothing to him.
Well, I think for me, Cabal and Stryker, I hated those characters. I wasn't happy with their design. I wasn't.
Wow, really?
The story, I just, I was never really satisfied with how they came out. I mean, there were things that were good about them in terms of how they played and stuff, but those guys were never really my favorites. I'd say my favorites are probably, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I like them all, but, the first roster, the MK1 roster, I remember creating those guys, and they all fit, just in terms of the story and the theme of the game, they all fit well because each one of those characters, I remember thinking about them in terms of, okay, this guy's our hero, this guy's our sidekick, and all that, those types of things, and they all fit a piece of that puzzle. And I think that's why they work so well together, and why a lot of them are still around today. And I did that into MK2. We did the same thing there, thematically with the characters. And then I think as the roster grew, it became harder and harder to do that. MK3, I think we started to struggle a little bit. In MK4, I think maybe with the exception of Quan Chi, I wasn't really happy with.
Yeah, Quan Chi was pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, I think he was probably out of the, in that whole game, he was probably really the only standout guy that I'd say I was proud of.
Well, you had Kai.
Yeah, the other guys I wasn't so.
I think Kai became like Raiden after it or something.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, MK. Well, first of all, let me ask you this: what was the whole concept of the block button as compared to Street Fighter with the hold back to block? Because that's one of the things that a lot of people in the fighting game community argue about, because hitting the block actually puts the character into more frames of animation as compared to just holding back. It's actually less, because you actually got the hitting of the button, letting go of the button for that animation to take place. And a lot of Street Fighter players still to this day rip into the game for just the fact of a block button. So what was the reasoning to the block button?
No, I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember. Yeah,
That's an interesting question.
I off the top of my head, I'd say it was we were trying to do something different. But I do remember in Street Fighter kind of being annoyed at holding back, and you walk back, and then a guy would throw a punch on the other side of the screen, and your guy would pause, to block.
Yeah.
And that I always felt was a little bit awkward, as much as I love Street Fighter, but I don't remember really.
Now here's a question that actually is for me. I've never understood this. MK1. Was there a message at all, or was it just something that got forgotten? When anybody except for Liu Kang did a fatality, the sky got dark.
Oh no, that was kind of on purpose.
I figured because he's like a good guy.
Yeah, because right, exactly, and he didn't. I think in the first game he didn't do anything. Did he even kill anybody?
No, he did the cartwheel uppercut.
Right, I think we kind of lost that in the later iterations of the game with him. But yeah, the idea was that he would never kill anybody. He was like this.
I guess come MK2, he dropped that mentality.
Well, he was pissed in MK2.
Is there any characters that, if from the original roster, that like you look at and you go, you know what, he's just not what I wanted him to be? I mean, like personally to me, I'm always a fan of Cage, Raiden, and Kano. Because they had that, which by the way, I didn't like the fact I stopped playing the game for a while, then a 4.0 ROM version came out, and you guys added more gravity. So I couldn't keep the guys juggled in the corner forever no more, because they had a specific jump punch, and then Sub-Zero and Scorpion had their own jump punch, and then Sonya and Liu Kang each had their own individuals. But those 3 characters had the same animation for their jump punches, so it would allow you to, like I said, do 100% combos. And then I remember going into an arcade one day, and I did, I think, 2 of them in a row, and all of a sudden gravity took over and the character just dropped to the floor. But is there a character in that game that you were like, you know what, if I had to go back and do it over, I would pull him out and I would put this one in instead?
Not the first 2 games.
No?
No. I think the only, if I could go back and redo Cabal and Striker, I would. I don't know if I'd design them differently or just come up with whole other characters. But, like I said, as the roster started expanding, it became more and more difficult to add characters and make more.
All right, Natus, you got those questions now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
From Original Razor, what other mythology games were planned apart from Mythology Sub-Zero?
Sorry, say that again?
What other mythology games were planned besides the Sub-Zero one?
You know what? Actually, before we started the Sub-Zero one, our debate was Sub-Zero, Scorpion, or Liu Kang. Like, who do we base the game around? And then it was between Sub-Zero and Liu Kang, and we ended up with Sub-Zero. But I don't know. I mean, that was left wide open for us. We thought we could take any of the characters really. And the idea was to take the most popular ones. And there's only a handful of the most popular ones. So it was pretty much between those characters.
Okay. Did they plan doing another one after Sub-Zero?
Well, Special Forces was like our one after Sub-Zero.
Okay.
Which, obviously didn't work out. But yeah, that was the one after Sub-Zero. And I think the story, if I recall, I don't know what the story ended up as, but I actually kind of liked the story that we had come up with. It was about, and I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me what the story ended up as, but our story originally was about Jax and Sonya sort of discovering, there was some crazy guy who was trying to rip open a portal between Outworld and Earth, and that was sort of, and they had to kind of stop it, and that was what the basis of that story was. So
Okay.
Was that what it was? Did it end up that way?
Yeah, it ended up, they started a Outworld Protection Agency.
Okay,
And
I think we came up with that at the end of 3.
Yeah, and they just kind of continued with it.
Right. Enough of Special Forces.
Yeah.
Nightmares.
Next question is from Original Razor. What exactly made you depart from the MK team?
I'm sorry.
What exactly made you depart from the MK team?
Oh,
Is my microphone too low?
No, you
I
just
think
sound
my
like you got
my
marbles.
phone's a little low. Well, you know what? I wanted to try independent development, and that was it. And at that time, we knew that these next generation consoles were coming out, and if you were to start a development company, that's the time to do it. If you can start out as a developer, because the publishers would. That's the point when they would be looking to sign people up, and so we thought that there was a window of opportunity there for us to kind of take advantage of, and that's why we did it. I know that I've done interviews about this in the past, and I keep people ask me the question over and over, and I think it's like folks want to hear that there was some salacious background to why I left, and I wasn't happy with the direction of the games and stuff, and the fact that MK was kind of hitting a low ebb at the time has nothing to do with why we left it.
All right.
I felt back then, as I do today, that Mortal Kombat, especially what happened to it in the early '90s, it was sort of a pop culture phenomenon, and it's going to be around forever. And I even back then I felt that even if its popularity wanes for a bit, all it takes is a good iteration of the game to kind of bring it back. I look at it as as any sort of pop icon. Like if you look at Superman or Batman or Spider-Man, they all have their ups and downs. You can have a shitty movie and a shitty run of the comics, and all of a sudden, some new artist gets put on a book, or they redo the films in a different way, and it's back. And I thought that MK could exist the same way. 20 years from now, it could sort of wane in 5 years, and 20 years from now, someone picks it up and dusts it off, and it's back. So I think it's going to be with us forever, and especially now that Warner Brothers owns it.
All right. Next question from JamessMK. Why did you get rid of Shao Kahn in favor of Shinnok?
We were just trying to mix things up. We had Shao Kahn that existed for the last 2 games, and there's only so many times you can kill a guy and bring him back.
That's true.
So I thought, there was this NetherRealm place, and I thought that it's sort of expanding the story behind Outworld and these other realms that existed would make sense, and so that's why we brought Shinnok in. I wasn't really happy with how he ended up.
I thought he had a kind of cool story.
It wasn't bad. I prefer, if you ask me who I prefer Shao Kahn. Actually, I prefer Shang Tsung. I think he's a cool villain. But Shinnok, I think of all of our big bad guys, I think he was the weakest.
All right. Same person asked. His question is, can Shao Kahns and Centaurs meet?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
His question is, can Shao Kahns and Centaurs mate?
Sure, why
not? Same person again.
There's an idea for a character.
Does he think it was a mistake to tone down the fatalities in MK2 and 3?
Tone down the fatalities?
Yeah.
I don't think
they toned them down either.
This is the question here.
The question is, I guess this person hasn't played.
Yeah, I think they got worse, actually. What happened after that is at some point the rating system, came in, and then it was all bets are off. It's like, we can do whatever we want, man. It's rated M.
Okay. I'm trying to think of a question here. Which one to read?
Read the ones that don't have the really stupid comments.
I'm trying to. It's so many questions here. Did he want to make the 3D MK the 3D games after he left Midway?
Do I want to make the 3D games?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Oh, did I want to continue making MK games?
I guess. Well, this ain't a 3D version. I guess if you wanted to make the 3D ones.
Oh. I don't know how to answer.
That's an odd question.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Let me get into a normal question.
Yeah, guys, if you're gonna send questions, do me a favor. I know you break marbles balls over here, but put it in a language that's comprehensible to the average human.
All right, from Mike, from Matter of a Mind, what creative difference did you and Ed have during the development of the first few MK games with the respect of gameplay and story?
That was a long question. Repeat it.
You want me to repeat it?
Yeah, go ahead.
What creative differences did you and Ev have during the development of the first few MK games with respect to the gameplay and story?
Actually, Ed and I have very few creative differences. We worked really well together, I think. And we did have, we had our moments in terms of arguments, I think, but it was always about, stupid things. But I thought we worked really well. Ed kind of did his thing, I did mine, and we would collaborate when it was necessary. We collaborated when we were in the studio taping the actors. We collaborated, and so just the process, I think, went really smoothly for us. It was a lot of fun working with Ed, and so, like I say, very few creative differences. Maybe we would go back and forth on a name that we liked or didn't like for a particular character, but it all got worked out.
Okay. From One Man, Three Letters. Apparently, Baraka went from yellow, black, red-clad man wearing bandana over his face with hook swords to the blade-wielding Tarkatan we know today. Were there any other characters that had such drastic change from the original concept to the final game product?
Actually, there were a series of, if I remember correctly, there were a bunch of marker sketches that I had done on MK2 that I ultimately didn't like. I think I remember the sketch for the one that you're talking about. It was a black suit with like maybe red stripes on the sleeves, right? And I drew the hook swords, and actually we ended up using those. I love the look of the hook swords, which we ended up using for Cabal later on.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I can't think of any that changed drastically. Jax actually looked pretty different. Initially, he had like a yellow karate uniform and like metal wristbands, and we actually taped John Paris dressed in that costume, and it looked horrible. Just the yellow didn't read well, and so we actually went and redid. We retaped him.
All right. Same question for another question for One Man, Three Letters. Who, what, when, how did Baraka's Chomp Chomp come about? It's my favorite special in all the MK, so I really like to hear the backstory behind its creation.
Which one? The Chop Chop?
Yeah, the Chop Chop move for Baraka.
Which one is that? I don't
That's
know.
the one where he has the blades moving back and forth really fast.
Oh, like scissors?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what the inspiration was for that. I don't remember. So,
Who came up with the idea of that move?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. We might have come up with that in the studio. I don't recall that.
Same person. Do you know if there is a revision? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know if there is a revision of MK2 anywhere on this earth where Baraka has his spin that was taken away from him until it was given back to him in MK Trilogy?
I'm sorry.
All right. Do you know if there is a revision of MK2 anywhere on this earth where Baraka has his spin that was taken away from him until it was given back in MK Trilogy?
No, I don't know.
All right. You know what? Off of that, while you were developing it, do you guys have any versions of the game that like never actually made it out? Where, you had a whole bunch of stuff in there. You said, you know what, we're going to go in this direction, and you said, you know what, nah, let's just change it up. Because I know, there's been games in the past where, it starts out as a side scroller, then all of a sudden becomes a first person, game overnight, basically. Was there any versions out there that were dramatically different at all compared to the final product?
No. No, we were actually, with regards to development, we were really efficient. We threw very little away. There was always so little time to develop these things that there just wasn't time to do much of that.
Now, your team, the original team consisted of how many people?
Well, MK1 was Ed and I primarily, and Dan Forden, of course, did our music and sounds, and then John Vogel, who I believe is still around today in NetherRealm, he came on board and helped us out with some backgrounds.
Now, is there I don't know, as an artist, I don't know if it gets to a matter of, the other people treading on my stuff, but you look at the development team now and it's like 150 guys. But, you look at the product that you guys were putting out with 5 guys compared to 150 guys. Do you feel that given the team, the team that you could have like nowadays to do Mortal Kombat, that the game would develop? I mean, let's be honest, the game's obviously a hit. It'll always be a hit. But do you think it could have hit a different plateau as far as being on a level of popularity, given that you had more of a team of people?
Do you mean if the original game, if we had a larger team?
Yeah. What do you think that actually might actually crimp the style of that you were going for with Ed at that time?
Right. the thing about games back then is that we had very little memory. So you can have a team of 1,000 people. There just is only so much you can put into the game. And so, I think the only thing it may have done is my approach to creating the graphics might have been a little bit different. Knowing that I wasn't responsible for creating all the stuff myself. But I don't know. It's hard to look back on something like that in hindsight because there's a charm to the crudeness of the graphics of the first one. I think.
Yes.
You can look at it and say, oh, that sucks, and not appreciate it because you weren't around at the time and didn't understand how games had progressed. But I think that I don't know. I think that like I said, there's a charm to it. And I remember when we were developing that first one, when I was kind of figuring out how I was going to produce the graphics in the period of time that we had, and I considered all kinds of things. And ultimately, I just decided, we're going to videotape it, and we'll keep the crudeness of the digitized graphics, and we'll just let that work for us. And that's kind of what I did. The first game, there was very little touch up to the characters. It was mostly just taping and then cutting out the frames and working all that stuff out. That changed a little bit on MK2, but on the first one, I knew that the moment I took one of the characters. One plan I had was I was going to tape them and almost do like a rotoscoping. I would draw over every character, but there just was no time to do it. The initial game, I think we had, the first plan was, I don't remember whether it was 6 or 8 months, but we had very little time to produce it. And so I knew that there wasn't a whole lot of time to do anything real fancy.
Question from Mr. I Got Bass, my favorite fan. He wants to know, did you know when you guys were doing the Babalities that though it was kind of a joke that it would cause such we'll use the word rage amongst players that when somebody did a Babality to the other person, it really was an insult? That I didn't even have to use, whether it was the block ones or if it was the ones, I didn't, and doing the Mercy and MK3 for the animalities. Did you guys intend for it to cause that type of conflict, or was it just, well, now let's just see how it goes? Because I remember in the arcade days, doing a Babality to somebody or a friendship was almost fighting words.
Right. Yeah, it was worse than a fatality. Yeah. No, that was a little bit of the intention. Was it was all about humiliation, and so we thought it's another arsenal in a player's set of weapons that he could use to sort of humiliate the guy he just beat. And then the other thing about the Babalities was that it was like one frame. The image was one frame, and we had very little space to squeeze things in.
Who were the babies?
I don't know. I think the Babality graphics, I believe, were all done by Tony Goski, who I think is still around. But he did a lot of our backgrounds in MK2. But for some reason, I remember him doing the babies. And I might have done a few as well. But yeah, it was more about, again, just us trying to squeeze stuff in within the limitations.
Native.
This is a question from the MK Flash Dancers. He asks, have you ever seen their videos and what do you think of it?
I did see their videos. They were awesome. Laughed and laughed. So it was good stuff.
Yeah, they're very big supporters of us. We had them on the show, like our 5th episode of the show. So these guys, we love them. They love us. So hopefully they're in the chat watching. I just asked them to find out if they were.
Right. That was good stuff. Do more.
They just went out and did one.
Yeah, they told me it should be out in about a week or 2. They're currently editing the video. Their last video kind of flopped, the Marvel one with stuff, and everybody pretty much said the same thing, flopped. So they did another Mortal Kombat one, and it should be out on YouTube within a week or 2. From STB, Take a Chance. If you're describing working with Ed Boon as only one of the next 3 professions, which would you pick and why? Surgeon, painter, or technician?
What?
I'm sorry. If I was to pick a profession to work with him as,
Yeah.
so he would be a surgeon,
Painter or technician.
a technician,
And why?
technically minded, as a genius.
Okay, question from K7. Is there a possibility of Toe Fang 2? Or Tao Fang 2?
Yeah, I don't think so.
K7 again. What can you tell us about the MK Live tour back in 1995 and how it came about?
That was another one of the many licensed deals that Midway had with whoever the licensing company was at the time. And I think I saw the tour, and they had some great martial artists, I think, involved. I remember the guys who were there were just absolutely fantastic athletes. The production values were not where I thought they should have been. That was a little embarrassing, I think, in some respects. And from what I understood, I think that those guys went through hell, just traveling state to state, and I think they were really working. But I don't know. Those are one of those things that if you asked me whether we should have done that or not, I would have said we should have.
Tell me, do you have any stories that stand out during the filming of some of the actors, or quote unquote any wacky antics that have gone on during the process of development of any of the games that stick out?
There's so many stories. I don't know. Let me think. Working with the actors we did a lot of goofing around. I think Ed, actually, of everybody, whenever we were on set, Ed was the one who was cracking everybody up the most. And Ed, I think, was a clown. Tony Marquez, who played Kung Lao, was just always, being a comedian. Rich DeVizio was a lot of fun. I can't think of anything in particular, but yeah, we just did a lot of clowning around, and I think if anybody sort of had to get us in line, it was probably me, because I would look at our shot list and we're goofing around and half the day's gone and we still have a ton of shots left to do, and so I'd have to try to keep everybody straight. So.
Now I'm just looking at the election because everybody's talking about it. I don't know who's going to win. I don't care.
They said Obama won already.
Oh, God. 4 more years.
That's what I was just reading. Obama won.
Oh, man. But, yeah, that's a downer. Sorry. Not bringing politics into the conversations. But, yeah, no. With working with the actors, I know Daniel was saying, I guess you guys were filming something, a college film or something, and something about, I don't know, something. I believe he said you guys were working on a student film or something, and I forgot what he said. Something to the effect of that's one of the reasons why the conception of the game came up. I guess that was pre-MK days. Did you study any martial arts with these guys at all?
Yeah, I did actually. I studied with Danny for a little bit. Let's see, shooting a film. You know what I think he's talking about is, actually I was in high school, and I was taking a TV production class, and Danny and Carlos and Rich DeVizio and a friend of ours named Andy Kadelka, we were all kind of going to drive out to a forest preserve, and I had written a script about like ninja assassins who were chasing a thief or something. I don't know, some nonsense. And we never actually got to tape it because we got into a car accident. I think is that the story he told?
Yes.
Okay. It had nothing to do with Mortal Kombat, but yeah, that was, I think, when I first met Danny. And so we were driving out. I was driving my a Dodge Aspen that actually belonged to my parents, and we got rear-ended, and the car was totaled, and the equipment was ruined, and I was flipping out, and we were kind of stuck out there because we were waiting for a tow, and that was my first experience with Danny. So I think that's what he was talking about. But that didn't really have anything to do with Mortal Kombat. That was the first time we were going to work together.
All right, going to that, what kind of kid were you growing up?
I was a very quiet kid. I grew up on Chicago's near west side. It was actually a real rough area, but I was real quiet. I wanted to be an artist from the first time I picked up a crayon, probably, and I was a video game junkie. Played games, since I was probably 6 or 7. Played Pong and all that kind of stuff. My dad was actually a big game player, and so he was always bringing home the latest gadget. And before the 2600 came out, he brought home like a Pong system, so we had that.
The Magnavox.
Whatever it was, yeah. And then he brought home a 2600. He was the one who was always going out and buying the games. And he loved playing games in the arcade, and I did too. So I was an arcade rat. I used to. There was an arcade not far from our house, and on occasion after school, I'd go over there with a few friends, and there was a Jewel. It was kind of like a mall, and there was a grocery store is what it was. And so we would hang around the grocery store and carry bags.
Oh shit! To get changed to go play games. I did that shit.
To play some games. Yeah, that was fun.
That's how I learned how to play Nintendo's arm wrestling.
Yeah. But so yeah, I did that for a long time.
What was your favorite game growing up?
In the arcade,
Yeah.
I was really good at Tron. I don't know if you remember the game that was based on the film. I was really good at that game.
I gotta play you.
Yeah, and I would play that game because I'd go out to a mall with my mom, and she'd give me a quarter, and what could I do with, or 50 cents or whatever, and I needed to last a few hours, so I'd play a game that I could play forever. So I'd play that game, and I could just sit on it, forever. So I was pretty good at Tron. But there was another game, Zookeeper. I don't know if you remember Zookeeper.
Yep. Annoying sounds though.
Right. Yeah.
See, there's somebody in the chat saying me versus you, first to 5 at Tron. I still remember this. I remember light cycles, first 2 levels, up to the left, up like a 90-degree angle. The third level, you got to do the square box on the third part of the grid to a short one. That would take that out. And then I remember ducking into the teleporter in the tanks to take out when they had like 12 tanks so you can get to the rammers. And that was like the big goal back then. If you can get to the rammers, you were good. Yeah, there's a place out in New Jersey that we go to. We do tournaments once in a while, and they have only classic arcade games. And I think you pay $20. They give you a band, and all the games are set to free play.
Right.
So you just stay, and you can actually go in there and be like, you know what? Can you hook the Vectrex up? And they got a Vectrex there.
Oh, awesome.
So
I always wanted a Vectrex.
I never got one either. I was like, I want that, but at that point, my parents were like, no, you're not getting that. You got the Atari, you got the ColecoVision, you got the Intellivision. What do you need that thing for?
Right. Yeah, we have in Chicago. There's an arcade called Galloping Ghost, and they have a similar setup where they've got all the classic stuff. And actually, it's an amazing place. It's like a museum.
They got a lot of players in the MK scene. They got a team that actually plays that just came out from Dallas. Kid 16-bit. He's actually working on Injustice now with Ed. They got a team of guys that are out there. A good team, great bunch of guys too. That basically represent Galloping Ghost Arcade whenever they go out. Now, as far as growing up, did you get into fights?
Yeah, well, when I was younger, like I said, I grew up in a real rough area. You had to kind of scrap just to get by. Walking home from school, it was common. But I didn't fight much. Fights are ugly. It's like when you get no fight, nobody wins. But like I said, when I was a kid, it was a rough area, and you'd get into scraps, and it was different back then. Though I think back then it's like you get punched in the mouth, and the next day you're playing ball with them. So nowadays it's a little different. It seems that way to me.
I got the guy Monkey Chime. There's a guy Monkey Chime telling. I had you know what? I'll tell it. Why not? There was a time where I had a fight with a guy, and I knocked him out. But that wasn't. No, that wasn't the bad part.
Oh, okay.
The bad part was I reached into his wallet, took his cash, and I'll let you finish your drink, and then I proceeded to piss on him.
That's horrible.
But
find that man and apologize.
Nah, I don't know if that guy's around anymore to apologize to. I mean, I definitely, you know, as a kid I fought a lot, especially, I mean, you know how the arcades were back then. I don't know about the West Side, but you know, all the drug dealers were in there doing their little thing, and you know, here I am, a 12-year-old kid hanging out in the arcade, and this is basically what I was exposed to. So you kind of learned not to, especially back then when you had a quarter and you were like, yo, I got to make this quarter last. You know, so one of these guys, oh, give me your money. You know, I ain't giving you my money.
Right.
You know, so I mean, yeah, definitely had a lot of fights back in my day. And I don't drink. Guys are saying I drink too much. I usually have beers on the show.
Okay.
Told you, it's a different era. Natus, you got more questions?
Yeah. From Randy TH1. Tobias, at one point, MK lost popularity because of the reigning what of Hold on, let me say this all over. Tobias, at one point, MK lost popularity because before regaining it with the later installment. What do you believe was the cause?
You know, when I think of the period right around when Mythologies came out and MK4 came out, we were developing stuff for the arcade, and the arcade market was just dying. And I think that there was just, if you look at between that period of time and when the later, you know, the 3D MKs came out, that was a transitional period, and I think a lot of games struggled during that time, and MK was no different. And I think that had a big part of it. And then I also think we needed to kind of step away from it for a bit. You know, Ed and the team worked on a game. I don't remember the name of it. It was a shooting game, actually. It was an arcade style shooting game, first person shooter. And I thought it was actually a great game, and I think it earned well in the arcades, but it didn't. The arcade game did not sell well, and that was a product of that industry kind of dying. And so, I think Mortal Kombat, like a lot of the other products at the time, had to kind of just work their way through that time period. So I think that had a large part of it, and maybe another piece of it was just like I say, we just needed a break.
All right. Question from the same person. Tobias, if you could write the next MK iteration backstory, which direction would you take it?
I don't know, but I actually, after MK4, I remember I was writing there was a comic book that got packed in with the MK4 PC version. I don't know if it was used for anything else, but I was writing that story, and I remember thinking I had all these ideas that we should have done, and I know what after MK4, I know where I wanted to take it, and I wanted to kind of do sort of the next generation of fighters and all that kind of stuff, so I would have introduced the son of Liu Kang and that kind of thing. I would have tried to advance the story in that way. I would have picked a reboot. I would have tried to sort of try to move things forward.
Did you feel the series needed a reboot after all these years? I hate reboots, and I always think that a reboot is kind of a cop-out. It's like, if you're a good storyteller, you try to sort of take what you have, whether you like it or not, and you advance it and work with it. But I think with Mortal Kombat, especially, because the first game came out 20 years ago, and there are probably players who weren't even born, when that first one came out. So I think MK was kind of an exception. I think it needed. I don't think that was a bad decision. Okay.
But I'm a big fan of advancing the story. I think that's much more difficult than retelling something that someone already told.
All right. Question from the same person again. Tobias, what do you think of the MK Legacy web series story analysis, story-wise analysis? I know you haven't seen that.
Yeah, actually, I liked it. I thought it was still within the spirit. There was the first, the first thing that had come out that was not part of Legacy. I don't know what it was called.
That was the pilot that they did trying to get the movie.
Right, that viral video that came out, which I thought visually looked great. And Kevin Tantron, I think that's how you pronounce his name, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I hear from Ed that he's like a huge fan of the game, and Ed told me that Kevin showed him pictures of himself when he was like a kid, dressed up as Sub-Zero in a Halloween costume and stuff. So he's a fanboy, and so I think that's a good thing. But the first iteration, that first thing, I thought was a little bit out there. While visually I think it looked cool, I thought the story was a little bit whacked out. But the Legacy series I thought was good. I think that it's an exciting time sort of to be an MK fan and to have that stuff produced. I will say that games, the way that they're able to kind of base story, just the games themselves, in some ways it makes like a film iteration redundant. Like when I heard them that they were going to make a Halo film, for example.
Yeah, they've been trying to do that for years already now.
Yeah, but I ask why. It's like I'd rather see them put all that effort and energy in Halo 4, whatever. I'm completely content with getting my story bits from the product itself. So, when you look at the story, the cutscenes in MK9, those are like produced. They're awesome. So there's my story. But it's exciting to, I guess, have a film made.
I mean, I know Warner Brothers supposedly allotted. I don't know what the budget is, but they put a budget together for a third MK movie.
45 mil.
That's not a bad start.
Yeah, it's not enough.
It's not a bad start though. Hopefully, it gets better.
Yeah, exactly. Even the first MK film was I'm trying to think what their budget was, 24 million maybe, 20 million I think. So it wasn't a lot of money, and they I don't know, maybe they can do a lot with 45. But when you look at the Prince of Persias and that kind of stuff, huge budgets. So.
I mean, nothing taps Super Mario with John Goodman, I think it was.
Well, maybe they test the water to see how it will feel. Let them do a first movie, and if it does good, then they'll up the budget up to maybe double in the second movie. Kind of like how Resident Evil started with a low budget, and now they're doing like 150 million movie budgets now.
Maybe.
All right. Question from Shinox. Do you think you and Ed will ever reunite for a future MK game?
Never say never. I never say never to anything. So I don't know. Chances are no. We're kind of doing our own things. But I tell you what, I love Mortal Kombat. It's funny because over the years, for me, it's kind of like watching, other people play with your box of toys. It's like, those are my toys. And as fun as it is, and exciting as it is, you always have ideas, take things in a different direction and stuff. So.
Now, do you guys still currently speak to this day?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, those guys. We don't talk a lot. Everybody's busy working, but sure. And those guys, the guys who are still on the team, those guys are brothers. I mean, we worked, together for so long. It's fantastic that those guys are happy.
Okay. What are your current thoughts on the Injustice game coming out?
That's cool. I haven't seen much of it, but from what I have seen, it looks cool.
Question from Matter Over Mind. Are there any things in the earlier games that are still hidden and undiscovered?
I don't think so. I think the only things that are undiscovered are what, when Raiden and Liu Kang do their attacks and they kind of shout their gibberish. Only I think a few people in this world know what they're saying, and I'm one.
From Gruff757, whose idea was it to make Scorpion's animality a penguin?
I didn't know that he was a penguin, and I don't remember. It's so long ago.
Question from. Wait, no, that already got asked. All right, from Shinox. When you were creating the first game, did you ever think it would get as big as it did?
No, of course not. I mean, I think that there was a point in time with its development where it was fun to play, and there was excitement around the office about it, and so we knew that at the very least we were going to have a good game. But of course, we never imagined that they'd make a movie of it and selling the numbers that we did and all that stuff. But I'd say after our first few tests in the arcade, we knew that at least the point out was good. So, and we were fortunate actually that actually James, you can speak to this because you were there at the time, but we were fortunate that the guys at Acclaim sort of saw how well the arcade version was performing and decided to put up all the millions of dollars that they did in promotion for the home game. Those guys are responsible, I think, in large part for this.
That Wall Street Mortal Kombat commercial.
Yeah, those guys. But those guys. They sunk a lot of money into promoting it, and that was a risky move. As popular as the coin op was, nobody knew that that home game would.
All right. Next question from Zato1984. If you were given the power to change MK9, what would you do differently for NRS?
Power to change. Well, I would have done the story differently. That's the only thing I can say. Just because I'm a writer, I think I would have probably handled a few things. What bugged me, I was joking with a couple of the guys about it, was what bugged me about the story was when Sindel kicked her heel into Jax's neck. That just drove me nuts. What a way for him to go down.
From ZachMK, did you ever add character sprites in any of the arcade games that were never used in the release?
There were probably some stuff, yeah. I don't know if there's stuff. I've seen somebody's got a website. I don't know what it's called, but you can see all the sprites there, and I don't know where they ripped them out of. But there are some sprites there that are not actually in the game. And there's not a lot of it. Like I said, we were pretty efficient, and so most of the stuff that wasn't used never even made it.
All right. From Shinox, do you think that MK will be here in another 20 years?
Yeah, I talked about that earlier. I think Mortal Kombat. I think it's gonna. I think the characters and the game itself will exist as long as Warner Brothers owns it. I mean, those guys. You look at what they can do with a Superman or a Batman, and I think they have the ability to do the same thing. But yeah, I think it'll be around forever.
All right. From Beast Legacy, what influenced Tobias and the team in creating MK1, Van Damme movies, comic books, etc.?
Well, for me, other than the Karate Champ and some of those things I spoke about, I was a kung fu fanatic, like a kung fu film fanatic, and I used to. When I was in high school, we would sometimes after school we'd go to these dingy theaters in downtown Chicago, and they'd have kung fu triple features, and there was a lot of these Shaw Brother movies. I don't know if you know who the Shaw Brothers were. They were a production company out of China, and so they would produce a lot of these schlocky kung fu films, and I loved that stuff. There was one movie called 36 Chambers. That was a big influence on me. There was, I see someone wrote Master of the Flying Guillotine. Yeah, that was certainly one. And there were a series of movies that were kind of, they were like sort of, they would mix martial arts with mysticism a little bit. They were real creepy in a way. And that had a huge influence. And I was seeing some of that stuff, right around the time, or probably a little bit before, Big Trouble in Little China came out. And a lot of people point to that movie as being, the influence for Raiden and all that kind of stuff. And it was in a way, but I think that movie was, especially when I saw that movie in the theaters when I was a kid, that movie for me was like an Americanized version of all the kung fu flicks that I had seen. And so, and I liked sort of that mashup. I liked sort of, this East meets West thing. And, I know that when we started with Mortal Kombat, I wanted to kind of have that vibe. And so that's why you had very Americanized characters like your Sonyas and your Johnny Cages, and then we had your, your Eastern characters like, Liu Kang and Shang Tsung. And I thought it was sort of that mashup or that clash of cultures. I thought that so those movies had a big influence on me on stories.
All right. Question from OBS Edfig81. If John made MK Deadly Alliance, would he agree with the button layout change or the special move input changes that Boone changed?
I don't know much about Deadly Alliance, unfortunately.
I don't even remember what the button layout was.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I mean, now if you look at MK9, they changed it from high punch, low punch, high kick, low kick to front punch, back punch, front kick, back kick. So the punches are actually up top, and the kicks are now at the bottom. Which instead of the traditional up and down, now they go up top. Which, as an old school player, it still screws me up.
From Jimmy Potato. Would you guys leak secrets and stuff to GamePro and EGM to keep people playing, or looking for more secrets?
No, I don't ever remember leaking secrets to anybody. I don't remember exactly how that stuff ultimately got out there. It was different back then. I mean, back then, you didn't have the internet. Players probably don't know life without the internet, but it didn't exist, and so it was all word of mouth. But I don't know, and word of mouth through the magazines. I don't know.
All right. From Shinox, how do you want your involvement and contribution to MK to be remembered?
How do I want it to be remembered? I don't know. Don't know the answer to that question, other than just that I was there. I was there in the beginning, and I think that with the first few games, I think there was more to it on this than you would think that there is on the surface. I think that sort of in hindsight, when I look back on the creation of the first characters, especially in the first couple of games, there was a lot of thought that I had put into it. That we only had a few sentences here and there to kind of tell a story, and most of the story kind of gets told without actually telling it. So, I know that I was careful about who the characters were and how they fit in, with the rest of the roster. And I thought that by picking a certain character and making him a certain archetype, that players would sort of build stories in their head. And I think that the best stories are kind of told that way. You sort of give the audience the tools, and they can kind of sort of build a story themselves, and then you just sort of round it out and embellish it. And so I think video games back then, you had to rely on that kind of stuff to tell your story, because you didn't have, all the monotonous, I think, exposition and all the blah blah blah, the dialogue that we have today.
All right, you know what? We're going to give you like a couple of more questions, and we're going to let you go because we're getting up to that 12 o'clock hour, and I'm sure you're getting tired. I mean, you've been doing your traveling. I'm going to run a quick video, and this is what I was telling you earlier about the MK fails.
Oh yeah.
And basically they take the sprites. Let's go to this and put this over here.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, fuck the fucking world, and my new band is called Sister.
Did he just say he fucked both? Oh shit! Oh my god! Yo, I know you fucked up your coccyx. Don't ask me how to spell that
That's
shit.
awesome.
But that shit is beyond proof, son. You might as well stay your ass on that ice. Alright? Look, I bet
That
you
was
got
very
two
well done.
cracks now.
Oh, you know, wait, hang on, I'm not getting it. Is there a sound there? Is there
Yeah, put the sound on so you can hear it.
I know you fucked up your coccyx.
3D.
You didn't have the sound on that?
No, I didn't have the audio. No, I didn't.
All right, let me see this one.
Yo, Johnny, check it out. I bet these two little motherfuckers right here, $5, they weren't gonna jump on that tree. They ain't gonna do it. Oh shit! Oh my god, he's fucked up. Yo, my boy, up there, yo, don't do it. You're the best off, my boy. Don't jump. Oh my god, he's
That's
fucked up.
very
Yo,
funny.
you alright? Yo, why you bicycle kicking right now? You know you ain't getting that $5. You gonna do it. Ain't gonna
The
do
slow
it.
motion makes it so much worse.
Shit. Oh my god, he's fucked up.
I die every time I see these
Boy, up
things.
there, yo, don't do it.
Let me find. There's one more. Let me find. Where is this guy here? I miss it. He just did a new one actually.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Motherfucker, fuck the fucking world, and my new band is called Sister.
Yeah, the one with the ice was new. I didn't see him do that one yet.
Shit.
That was the first time I saw that one.
Oh my god. Yo, I know you fucked up your coccyx. Don't ask me how to spell
I like
that
how he put
shit,
the freeze
but
on the
that
floor
shit-
where he fell on.
This one's probably the worst one. This is the guy jumping on the tree.
Whoa, yo, it's a nice ass day at the beach today. Nice ass day. Yo, hold up. Look at the news up there. Now, look over here. Look at the dude got a camera. Yo, $6.77. Something's about to go down in this bitch. Yo, come over here, quick. Yo, I see somebody running. I know he's not gonna jump that. There's no way. God damn! What the fuck? Oh my god, yo! That's what you get for smoking trees. Yo, Carter's a bitch. I hope you already had kids. Yo, my boy, you alright? Yo, Johnny, he not moving. Yo, that motherfucker is dead. Let's get the fuck out.
I'm gonna jump that. There's no way.
Oh my
Good
god.
stuff. That's great. I had not seen those.
Guy out in Holland does them, so I'm gonna actually have him on the show one night. And there's another guy called Dashy who does little
Voices.
skits. In fact, he has Raiden and Baraka are like best friends, and they do a version of the Two Girls in a Cup. He definitely, it's definitely creative.
Right. Yeah, the voiceovers are great.
Okay, I got him there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to, unless you got any more questions there, Natus, maybe one or two more questions, and then
Yeah, I'm gonna get through these last ones here.
make them good ones. Not, what size shoe does he have?
Just lost track where I was looking at. From Jimmy Potato, are there any characters you created for MK that never made the games and you really wish would have?
No, I think the ones that never made the game, didn't make it for a reason. I didn't like them. So yeah, like I said, we were pretty efficient. There was very little waste. Back then, our staff was so small. There was so few of us and so little time that it's not like today where you just you have an idea or two and then you've got 50 concept artists, paint something up. Back then it was, we had to know what we wanted and be efficient about it. So there wasn't anything that we didn't use that I wish we had.
All right. From Macewind, MK was instrumental in the birth of the ESRB content rating system. What kind of heat was Midway under for developing MK?
We were actually shielded from that stuff. Ed and I saw very little of it. We were so busy working on the games that I don't remember too much about it. So we weren't under any pressure, and nobody ever came down and said, "Hey, tone it down." None of that. They really just let us go and let us sort of do what we wanted. I will say that I remember when it started going down, I thought I was a little upset about it because I thought that it was in a way sort of trivializing, I think, the problems that go on in terms of violence, especially like in the inner city, because I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and you see violence, and when you grow up in that environment, that the cause of it's more complex than kids watching violent TV shows or playing violent video games. There's socioeconomic reasons for why you have those problems in the inner city. There's drugs, there's gangs, and all that stuff is not fueled by media. That stuff is fueled by the situation that people live in. And so I thought that what pissed me off about the whole thing was that I thought that folks like Lieberman were trivializing real problems, with the video game nonsense. The ESRB and the rating system ultimately, I think, was a good answer to that. Especially today, there's no excuse for a parent not knowing what their kid is playing. If a parent walks into a store and buys an M-rated game for their child and then is upset about the content, that's their fault. And I think as time goes on, it changes because a lot of us who are guys who are in their 40s and stuff, we've all played games, and so we know what's in them, and I think as time kind of goes on and more players get older and they're more educated, I think, about games than parents were back then anyway.
All right. 2 more questions. From Shinox, was Rain intended as a joke character, or were you listening to a lot of Prince at the time?
Who?
Was Rain intended as a joke character, or were you listening to a lot of Prince at the time?
Ed is a huge Prince fan, and so yeah, Purple Rain is obvious. The fact that he's purple and he's named Rain, that's all Ed. There was a lot of the rainbow colored palettes there. I gave Ed a selection of palettes, and so a lot of those characters he created. I didn't. He would sort of pick the name and pick the palette, and then I would make up a story sort of after the fact for some of those guys. So it's cool to see them like in MK9. They were sort of given the proper treatment. It's cool to see that done and not have them treated as palette swaps. But for me, those characters are more afterthoughts than anything.
All right, last question. It's a combo question here. It's from OBS Salavia and Beast Legacy. Are you currently working on anything, and do you have any future projects in the pipeline?
Yeah, I'm working on stuff, and yeah, there are future projects, which I can't talk about now, but maybe I'll come on a later show and talk about that stuff.
Not a problem. James?
All right, we're gonna let him, John, go. It's getting late for him, and we got the Terry brothers. We got Rio. John, want to thank you for obviously taking the time to come on. Obviously, a lot of these guys, which, before I go, one last question. What do you suggest to a lot of the artists out there as far as programs to become fluid in as far as art programs? And is it Mac or PC?
Oh, well, Mac or PC doesn't really matter. It's just sort of the software. But, the cool thing now is that nowadays you can take courses in high school. I know that high schools will have a curriculum where graphic arts are taught on the computer. And you go to school now for game design and for graphics. There are a lot of great schools out there. And those are things that when I was getting into the industry, they just didn't exist. you couldn't take a course for computer graphics. No one offered them, and so everything was sort of self-taught. So now's a great time to be involved in this. Just take as many classes as you can, and there's a lot of times you don't have to be a fantastic artist in terms of your drawing ability to be a great artist in games.
You mean when you were in high school, BASIC didn't help you?
BASIC did not. You know what actually did help me though was there was a when the Amiga computer came out, they had some great graphics programs, but nobody taught it to you. You had to kind of teach yourself. So.
Commodore 64, Poke 182.
I never had a Commodore 64. I did have a VIC 20.
I didn't get the VIC 20.
Yeah, I had a program called Dazzle Draw on my Apple IIc.
How many colors?
32 probably, 16 maybe.
I was probably 16 back then. All right, we're going to let you go. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time to talk to everybody. Hopefully down the road I can get you back on here again. Like I said, we're honored to have you on. Next I got to get Mr. Boone on.
That was a lot of fun.
All right, guys, John Tobias, and we are going to come back in a minute. I'm going to run a commercial and going to reach out to the other guests that I'm having on.
Thanks again for coming on, John.
Oh, thank you.
All right, man.
I'm doing it for the East Coast. VSM, let's go.
Guys, thanks.
No problem, buddy. It was fun having you on.
Yeah, welcome. Good luck getting that on. I'm gonna log out here soon.
All right.
Thanks.
I got you. Thanks, man. I really appreciate coming on, man.
We'll hang in there. Keep it up.
I think you did too.
Mortal Kombat's my game, mainly because I'm terrible at Japanese fighting games, but I still go to pretty much all the fighting game tournaments in Toronto, and I've competed at some of North America's largest major fighting game tournaments as well, like Evolution in Las Vegas and some of the Major League Gaming tournaments. I've held casual gaming sessions every month at my place to help local players level up and train for the past year, and I sometimes house gamers when they come from out of town for a tournament. The long and the short of it is, I'm very familiar with and very connected to the fighting game community. I've always been especially struck by the level of analysis and effort that some players put into mastering their games and with everything that goes on inside and outside of tournaments. I'm pretty sure the majority of people have absolutely no idea how far competitive gamers go to become top players in their games and about the level of devotion and skill that's involved in the process. So I decided to do this project. The goal? Present the range of experiences by talking to both casual and competitive fighting game players, as well as sharing my own experiences. In order to do this properly, I need to get to New York City and California to conduct some key interviews with a few of North America's top fighting game players. I'll then be providing exclusive in-depth coverage of one of Canada's largest major fighting game tournaments, T13, which many of these players will be attending. So I invite you to join me as I attempt to define the premise of the game.
That's the one thing. That was crazy. That was crazy. My skills are unparalleled.
That was a spicy meatball. James, we don't hear you. You're muted.
The Terry brothers are not going to be able to make it today. They got stuck. They got swamped with homework for school, so they're not going to be able to make it. And Mr. Rio stepped away. He said he'll be back in 10 minutes. So we're just going to let that ring until his ass picks up.
You want to bring Pherleece in for us?
Where is he? 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 Pherleece. Where the fuck are you? Mr. Pherleece.
Hello?
Hello?
You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. What's up?
What's going on, guys? Actually, just got home. And I got lucky because my neighbor was outside with 2 things of gas, and he's like, hey, you need some gas? It's like, hell yeah.
Nice.
So I'm full. Thank God.
So that means you missed most of the episode just now.
Yeah. I just got back, I don't know, 11 minutes ago.
Damn.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We hear you.
Oh, there goes the MLG champion.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Rio?
What's up, Mr. 3-time champ?
Not much, man.
So, did the second time winning the MLG tournament have more meaning to you?
Third.
No, in a row.
Oh, in a row. All right.
No, it didn't. None whatsoever.
I mean, you didn't jump around. You didn't do the Bernie. You just kind of were like, got that shit. Thank you very much.
You saw that interview?
You know what I was hoping you say in your interview? I was hoping you say it when they asked you how you felt about winning. I thought you'd probably say, "Damn, I gotta pay fucking more taxes now."
Yeah, you just remind me of that shit.
That would have been godlike, right
Yeah,
there.
save your winnings for taxes.
Yeah, it sucks.
So, what was your let me? So, what was your overall experience with the MLG Dallas?
I liked it. It was fun. Definitely more competition at this MLG than the past 3 ones. I had to fight literally a good player every tournament.
You mean every match?
Yeah, I mean every match, not every tournament. Every match from first match to last match was a good player. There wasn't no random casual player 102.
You didn't have to play any random Barakas?
Nope.
Man. All right, let me just check this. Okay, here. All right. As far as the scene itself, does it seem like it's dying?
Not really.
There was a Baraka player at MLG. Who?
Zoidberg.
Oh, that's right. Zoidberg was there. I forgot.
I think he was there, or was he
Yeah,
DQ?
no,
I don't remember.
Zoidberg was there. You know what I found funny? OBS Toxic came in higher than people while staying at his house in Rochester, New York.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He got buys and actually wound up coming in higher than people.
What, he got like 3 buys or some shit?
He got something like 3 buys.
What place did he get?
I don't know what the place was.
Oh my god. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, he didn't get to make it, but he bought the entry, so they gave it to him and they gave him buys. And then I think in like the 3rd or 4th round they finally put him into losers.
Dude, what was with the seeding at MLG? I was seed number 3 or something. I don't know who was seed 1.
Was it Maxter 1?
I don't even know. I just know the seeding was random as fuck.
I think I heard somebody say that Maxter was seed 1.
Shouldn't the seed be in order for the last MLG?
Who knows how they do it?
I mean, I don't know. What I wasn't crazy about is what I wasn't crazy about was the Terry brothers playing each other like 3rd round.
Yeah,
you know,
very
GGA guys playing each other 2nd round.
Also, the GGA people eliminated each other. The fucking EGP people eliminated each other. The Terry brothers eliminated each other, and then you had the VSM people. Like, dude, I had J360 and Junior in my pool. That's like half of VSM that actually went there. And Revolver had to play CD 2nd round too. Like, what the fuck? Who seeded that shit? It was like.
Didn't that happen in the last
region?
tournament with the brothers? Didn't they eliminate each other?
I don't know. I just know this tournament was like a town fest. Like, everyone within their scene had to fight each other.
Yeah, you travel all the way to Dallas for that shit.
Exactly. You could imagine how some people felt.
I thought Arturo had something to do with the seeding. I guess not.
I don't think Arturo would put every
No.
every
Well, not
local
seeding,
scene
but
against
the-
each other.
Maybe
Dude,
he tried to fix some of the things that maybe he saw right off the bat if he had a chance to, but I know he doesn't do it.
All right, I got another OBS member here. I got Big D. Big D, you there?
Yeah, how you doing?
How did you feel your performance was this time around compared to the last time?
A fuck ton better than Rally. I'll put it that way.
But still not to where you want to be, obviously.
No, I was really shooting for top 16 or even top 8, but I mean, I'm happy with it, but I know I could have done better.
Oh, I mean, like I said, it was an improvement upon last time, and you know, MLG is a different stage altogether. You know, it has that major league atmosphere about it. So I mean, it's a little, I don't want to say nerve-wracking, but you got to get used to it. You know, you do a couple of them. I mean, I think next time around, you're definitely going to be making that top 16, top 8 spot.
I'm hoping so. I mean,
definitely see
technically, you could say nerve-wracking, at least for me. I mean, I was really nervous going into that set because I was talking to Showtime before the tournament started. I was like, oh, I'm probably going to get fucked with the brackets or something. And he says, nah, man, you're probably seeded because you went to Rally. I was like, that fucking works for me. And then I look at the brackets, and not only do I not have a bye, I play Pig second round. And then I look farther down, Madsen and Gross, who's never been to an MLG, get buys. And I fucking lost it. It didn't make any sense to me. It just, I mean, I'm throwing out all that money. I went to Rally and stuff, and it was a blast altogether, and I have no problem with that. But how do you give Gross and Madsen, who have never been to MLG, a bye?
Yeah, the seating was shit.
The last time. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe I just don't really know how it works, or I'm kind of missing something there, but it seems really off to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely,
It's the MLG Illuminati.
It's not the Illuminati as much. I mean, Evo is just as fucked up too.
That's the.
You know, and it's like these bigger tournaments kind of tell you tough shit. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, I mean, just imagine a plane full of New York guys go there, and you know, the first 3 matches are against the 3 guys they flew there with. I mean, it makes no sense.
Dude, all the CD brothers were in the same pool at Evo. How retarded is that? The people they train with every day.
And then look what happened at MLG. The DJT and MIT played each other, and then one of them had to put the other one to lose.
Yeah. Same thing with GGA. Same thing with EGP, and the same thing with fuck BSM.
Yeah. GGA, Han, and then 16-bit had to play like the 3rd or 4th round or something like that. That's fucked up, man. You got to put them on opposite sides of the bracket. I mean, I don't know how MLG runs it, but I kind of feel like they need to do their homework for the.
Yeah, I think it's just a lack of being familiar with all the players.
It's that, and it could
possible
possibly
that
be just a straight up lack of effort. It really can't be.
I mean, did they? You know, I was briefly talking to Pig earlier. Did they start to do what I said to them and reach out to like other players besides, you know, oh shit, Rio took a crap today, front page news. You know, to get some of the people that, you know, the up and coming guys like yourself and the Terry brothers. You know, did they do interviews with you guys as well, or was it was still the same? Stick to, you know,
which isn't really, you know. I wasn't really surprised. I wasn't expecting an interview or anything, but you know, they have to do what they feel is right to be able to get all the ratings that they're looking for, to get people to, you know, buy those HD passes or whatever they got to do. So it is kind of understandable. I wasn't really worried about getting an interview.
Yeah, but you know what it is for me. For me
most
personally,
of the viewers aren't a part of the community.
Yeah, but for me personally, I look at a player like Rio or Pig or Cat or CD Jr. I don't vibe with them. I can't relate. You know, they're not my pick for my baseball player that I think is the cool baseball player. You know, I kind of say, if you give a Big D or give a, you know, Maxter's out there. Maxter, you know, I vibe to Maxter because he's like an alcoholic like myself. You know, and if you
how
don't,
you doing with the drinking, by the way?
Am I in jail?
That's true.
So I'm obviously doing well right now. But you know, it definitely they have to focus. You know, like for me personally, the breakout player in Raleigh was Showtime, I believe. Was it Showtime?
Wasn't it Dab?
Or Dab?
Yeah, for Dallas, it was Dab. But
that
for
shit
Raleigh,
Napalm post was hilarious.
yeah,
Yeah,
at
he
Raleigh,
was
it
the breakout
so-
player.
You know, for me, this one, it was the Terry brothers. You know, they managed to knock themselves into losers. You know, they sufficiently knocked people out, and they managed to pull into the 7th and 8th spots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is kind of odd, like I said, especially being that they had to face each other. You know, and they're not the typical, you know, yeah, they got the Bernie dance and all that, which is kind of cool and all, but they're not the typical player that's, you know, the big name that people are like, oh man, when this guy wins, he's going to pop off, or this guy's going to do this. They just come, they do their thing, yeah, they do their Bernie dance, but they're quiet kids. And that's, you know, and I like that, you know, that aspect of players that, you know, even though they are making top spots anyway, it was really cool to see both of them.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's the same thing how I feel about Tyrant. You know, I finally had a chance to be able to sit down and talk with him, and he's kind of like a soft-spoken kind of guy. I would expect him. I thought he was gonna lose his mind when he beat Blake. I thought he was just gonna start jumping around, but Buddy just stood up and just flexed, and then that was it. You know, like, yeah, I have a lot of respect for that. I really do.
I mean, what's your feeling on, you know, we'll say the pig / 16-bit jump up and sound like somebody jammed a cock in your ass maneuvers?
I think it's good. You know, it's cool. I mean, a lot of people want to. The community needs hype, and however the hype comes, we need to accept that. So whether it comes off of a pop off or it comes off of shit talking or anything like that, you know, the community feeds off it. So I respect it because it helps us out. It helps it make the game more popular. It helps make it more fun to watch. Now, if the pop-off is directed at me, obviously I'm not appreciating it as much as I would. Other than that, I don't see a problem with it.
Now, let me ask you this. This is something, and you know what? I don't know if CD Jr. in the room, he does something that bothers the shit out of me. I don't like, and this is my personal feeling, I don't like when somebody's playing a game, somebody becomes fucking John Madden from the sideline. And he has a tendency to come up to the stage when, you know, and it's, you know what, it's between the brothers. I don't, you know, it's
talking about like when Maxter won?
When Maxter was playing, no, but not only that, I don't mind that, but it's the coaching on the side where it's like, it's this, are you stupid? Are you stupid, man? Pick this character. You know, and it you know, it's like, I understand he wants to give constructive criticism, but you know, this for some people is their Super Bowl. So you don't turn around. You made it to the Super Bowl. Now is not the time to start coaching somebody. You know, these players that are on the stage already made it to that point. You know, so it's like, it just, to me, I don't want to say it's poor sports, because it's not poor sports. It's just, to me, I think it's an out of bounds thing.
I see what you're saying, because, you know, he could be helping out his brother or whoever's playing, but the other person might not have that so-called coach. So in a way, it could be at a disadvantage, but, I mean, I don't personally have a problem with it. All I know is that, like, when I was playing against Pig, Junior was calling out stuff that I was doing wrong, which was great. You know, I didn't mind it.
2-4.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, shit like that. So I was like, all right. You know, I heard him the first couple of times say it, but Buddy keeps repeating it.
I'm thinking, now I'm not even focusing on my match. I'm just keep thinking to myself, fuck, I should have brought headphones.
Dude, this is the main reason I refuse to get tips in tournament. That should just hold you back in the end.
Well, I'm just thinking to myself, I'm not thinking about what Pigs could do. I'm thinking about what the fuck is Junior gonna say next.
Didn't the CD brothers try coaching CD at